Hello, Julie here and welcome to my YouTube channel. This video is for the Around the World in 8 Weeks competition at Mystical Scrapbooks. I'll leave a link to the competition in the description box below. The competition goes for 8 weeks with a new country and a new challenge each week. This layout was created for week 2 and the country is Africa. The inspiration for this week is a mood board. I have taken my inspiration from the colours of the mood board, namely the yellow and blue. The paper range I'm using is Cocoa Vanilla's Daydream. The requirements are to include stamping, and the item from the special kit that's available from Mystical Scrapbooks is chipboard. The photos that I'm going to be using were taken on a cruise I went on with my family, or some of my family, in 2006, so you can see they've been hanging around for a while waiting to be scrapped. And I fussy cut some flowers from one of the pattern papers in advance because I knew I would want to be using some of those on my layout. The name of the paper that I cut the flowers from was called Garden Variety. I will leave a link in the description box below for all the products I use on this layout as well. I encourage you to pop over to Mystical Scrapbooks and check out this challenge. I think it will be a lot of fun. I started by cutting 2 strips 1 inch wide by 12 inches of the Garden Variety paper. Then I cut 2 pieces 3/4 of an inch by 12 inches of Sweet Serenity and 2 pieces of 3/4 of an inch by 12 inch of Sun Shower. Once I had these strips trimmed using my trimmer, I then tore one edge of each strip. Once I had finished my tearing, I used my black Versamark ink cube to ink the torn edge and the 2 shorter edges of each of my strips of paper. I find that this helps each paper stand out from the other on my layout. I attached double-sided tape to the back of each one of those strips, and now I'm going to attach them to my my layout base, which is just a piece of smooth white cardstock. I'm going to put them onto the background so that the torn edge is overlapping the paper that's under it. So when I end up with my 3 pieces of pattern paper on the background, it will have 3 rows of torn edge showing. This turned out to be quite fiddly to do actually. To fulfill the requirement technique of stamping on my layout, I'm going to use this Kaisercraft clear stamp called Bows and Arrows, the stamp set. I'm just going to use the zigzag stamp from the set. I'm going to use my embossing ink and some clear embossing powder and just put a bit of texture into the background using that stamp. So I'm going to heat emboss that once I've got it stamped onto my page. I only stamp where I need it. I don't worry about putting it behind where the photos are going to go. By using the clear embossing powder, I'm just adding some detail and texture to the background without adding any extra colour. Time to work on my photos now. The top photo, the main photo of the layout, I have left that at 6x4. The 3 photos that are going to go along the bottom, I've trimmed those down. I've left them at the 4-inch height, but I've trimmed them down so that the 3 photos fit across the 12-inch page. Once I've got my photos resized and ready to go, I attach a piece of chipboard to the back of each one and then attach those to my layout. To embellish my layout, I'm going to use those fussy cut flowers from the Garden Variety sheet that I spoke about earlier. I have inked around the edge of each of my flowers, and I'm just going to use some of this art glitter glue to attach them to my layout. I'm going to tuck them in and around the top photo. I think this will help to draw more attention to that top front photo, which is my focal photo. For my title, I'm just using the name of the island we were visiting when these photos were taken, and I'm going to use my Craft uppercase alphabet dies to cut the WALA from the sun shower paper, the yellow paper. Once I ink around the edge of each of those letters, I will use my glue to attach them to the right hand side of the layout. For a little bit of sparkle, I'm going to use my uniquely creative clear glimmer pen and give a coat to each of the flowers. Instead of using a gem in the centre of the flowers, I used my glossy accents and just put a nice good blob, I suppose you could call it, of glossy accents, so that when it was dry it was nice and clear and domed and had a nice sparkle to it. The other requirement for the competition is to use a piece of chipboard from the kit, and in this case I chose to use an arrow. To colour my arrow, I cut a piece, I stuck the chipboard onto a strip of the sun shower, and then I trimmed around it with my scissors and then used an emery board to file around the edges so that it was nice and smooth, and then I used my black ink cube to ink around the edge of it to finish it off. I had a bit of a play around with where I was going to place my arrow, and in the end I decided to have the arrow pointing down to the photo that had me in it. I used my art glitter glue to attach the arrow to the page. So that's my layout for today. Don't forget to pop over to Mystical Scrapbooks and check out the competition. Last week we were in Brazil, this week we're in Africa. I wonder where we'll be next week, so check it out. Don't forget, the link will be below. Thank you for watching my video, and I hope you can join me for my next video.